Alright, well, I do have to announce something. I'm going to announce something. If you mind if I indulge myself a little bit, I want to give a shout out to my mom in the audience. We call her Tea Time. Her name's Tanya. If you see Tanya, say hey. That's Rod back there. Thank you, Rod. And I want to say thank you to all my coworkers. I have a huge group of coworkers. Where's all the overnight people at? So amazing that you guys support and come out like this. I'm just going to, in honor of these people being here, I want to tell you guys all about how I want to tell you about how I lost my virginity. So I lost my virginity when I was 16 years old.
What?
Yeah. On a camping trip to a woman who was 7 years older than me. As a one-night stand, never saw her again, and it was unprotected, and it was the scariest experience of my whole fucking life. Because, you might be thinking, what a terrible decision. Well, as a child, before 16, the most important thing that I could have done was have sex. I was like, before 16, I was like, you need to have sex before you die. That is it. And I hung out with a lot of risk-taking friends, a lot of fucking skateboarder types, you know what I mean? Yeah, fucking idiots is what I'm saying. Right. And so every time I jump off a cliff and nearly miss a rock, I'd be like, Caleb, you gotta fucking think, man. You haven't had sex yet. Don't be dumb. And so when the time came where I had the option, I was like, well, I'm not gonna think about it, I'm just gonna go for it. And so what happened was I was on a camping trip. She's a friend of a mutual friend. There's 5 of us, and eventually we both find out our ages, and she was still fine with that, which was weird. Her name was Sabina. Sabina was her real name, and she's a cute little short brunette. And as the night came on, we were around the campfire, swapping stories, getting a little drunk, getting closer to each other, gravitating towards one another. And I started thinking, is this the night? Is this gonna happen? And then so we end up going back to our tents. Everyone retires. So in our tent ends up being me, Sabina, and my friend Mark. Mark leaves. And I'm sorry, I know everyone wanted Mark to stay. He didn't stay. He left. He later became a born-again Christian, and I see that as foreshadowing now. So he leaves, and then Sabina and I are left alone. We start kissing, start heavy petting. She starts performing her own saintly acts. I try to reciprocate, didn't work. And so then we move on to the main event, and without getting into too much detail, there was a moment where I could see her back, specifically the small of her back, and she had a tattoo right here. Some people would call it tramp stamp if you're into shaming people. But it was of a heartagram. Does anyone know what a heartagram tattoo is? It was meant for hardcore rockers, fucking skateboarders, and Bam Margera. Those are the 3 groups of people that have and this girl have a heartagram tattoo. So some of you might be thinking okay, the red flags are starting to pile up, right? She's 23, I'm 16. She's okay with that. She's calm about it. Seems like she's done it countless times. Very weird. She has a tattoo on her small of her back. She doesn't know how to spell her name. All these things end up coming back in my mind later on because we leave and it's an awkward. We leave. It's awkward. Damn it. People aren't talking in the car, and it doesn't become full-blown fear until the next day. Literally the next day, we go to my friend's house and we see the movie Kids. Could there be worse timing to see the movie? If anyone has, raise your applause if you've seen the movie Kids. Applause if you have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay. Kids is a movie about kids in New York who fuck each other and just get HIV like crazy. And everyone who watches it thinks, fuck, do I have HIV? You have to think it. And then after that experience I just had, I immediately was diagnosed by myself with HIV. And I was like, you guys, I didn't think I had HIV. I fucking knew I had HIV. I would like go to school and I would look at all the other, I would suppress it, but then every once in a while I would well up and I would just get this darkness go over me. I'd look at my friends in the quad, they'd be laughing and smiling, like throwing jelly beans into each other's mouths, and I'd be like, you don't know what it's like to have HIV. At 16 years old, I listen to emo music. Do you know how many emo fucking bands play things about teenage HIV conception? That's fucking impossible to find. I was so scared. And then at home, you know, I had this internal conflict at home where I was like, do I tell my mom?
No!
How do I tell my mom that her only middle son has HIV and is not dying? You know? And I thought, like, it's expensive to like deal with someone with HIV. Like, is it? Like, should I like tell them and put that burden on them, or should I just like wait it out and then when the time comes, like instinctively go find a tree like a sick dog and go die under it? You know? And I was like, I'm gonna die under a tree. That was what I chose. I chose to fucking die, basically. But anyways, I ended up hunting her down on AOL Instant Messenger, and months later. And, you know, like, had to figure out how to ask her. There's no playbook for, like, how to do small talk into, do you have HIV? So I kind of just went right for it. And she laughed so hard at me that it was, like, the best humiliation I've ever felt. It was, like, the most amazing feeling ever, that she was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then I ended up getting tested, and it turned out I didn't have it, and that was like the best feeling in the world. I was like, how did I just miraculously get cured of the HIV I definitely just had? And on the way back from the clinic, I was thinking to myself, I was like, what did you learn? What did you learn? And I learned, like, sex is still extremely important to me. Like, it's very important. Like, if I lose my penis, my body is totaled. Like, you can take me to a junkyard, crush me up into a little cube, and be rid of me, because there's no fucking point, right? If I lose it, it's over. So I was like, this is still really important, but I was thinking, like, okay, before I had sex, I thought I had to have sex and then I could die in peace, okay? But then now that I've actually had sex, I still want to live? What? Which was weird, you know, like I still felt like I had more living to do. And so I was like, you know, sex is still extremely important to me, but maybe it's time I put a few more things on my bucket list. And that was my biggest takeaway from losing my virginity. Everyone, thank you so much for listening to the story.